I used to have a self-attack pattern that almost drove me to the brinks of insanity. So I had this pattern probably since I was about 8 years old, maybe 10 years old, somewhere around then. I remember that life changed. Life went from being about enjoying myself and finding ways to learn and grow while enjoying myself. And it became a game of right and wrong, where I often felt like I was doing the wrong thing, getting the short end of the stick, and not succeeding. And this paradigm, you could basically break it down to this. I didn't think the present moment was enough. I always thought that there was something else that I needed to tap into in order to make the day good or have a good week. I thought that I needed to have a certain girl like me back, or I thought that I needed my friends to treat me in a certain way, or I needed to get invited to the right party or whatever. Life stopped being about enjoying myself and it became about really constructing a life. And I feel like a lot of people struggle with this and they don't realize it's self-attack, because there are several forms of self-attack, which we'll get into in this video. I'm also going to get into the comfort, unconsciousness, self-attack cycle that gets so many people trapped. So stick around. And if you don't know me, my name's Chris. I'm a spiritual coach. I've been doing this full time for about 4 years. And I just love helping people break out of their patterns, alchemize their past, and shift into a higher consciousness. So why do we self-attack? It kind of seems counterintuitive because most of what we're consciously doing on a daily basis is trying to make our lives better. So it seems kind of counterintuitive that we would all have these patterns where we would be attacking ourselves subconsciously, right? Well, it's actually not that weird when you break it down. So the way I like to think about it is that human beings crave comfort and consistency a lot more than they crave the peaks, the high highs, the huge successes, etc. So even if your conscious mind wants you to take the actions to get the huge success, your subconscious actually wants you to conserve energy and just go with your same past patterns and essentially allow yourself to ride on autopilot in unconsciousness. And when we ride in autopilot, we repeat the patterns of the past because there's nothing else that we can do. There's nothing else to reference because we are not consciously present enough to find a new path. So we go down the same paths that we've gone before and we recreate the past in the present moment once again. This is the weird thing that happens when some people get more success than they're used to, or they receive more love than they're used to, or something of that sort. They feel unworthy of all the love they're receiving, and because of that, they start to feel uncomfortable because now they're actually in a good position, which ironically brings them into a state of frenzy usually. I want to emphasize this because a lot of people think that it's the unworthiness means we hate ourselves and we're trying to do ourselves wrong. I don't really subscribe to this belief. I personally think that we just don't know how to react to having more than we expect to have. So what happens is we actually just prefer to get back to how things were. It's not that we hate ourselves, we actually love ourselves and we're loving ourselves into comfort. So what ultimately matters is if we feel like we are loving comfort more or if we're loving expansion. If we're loving and craving comfort, we're going to continue to self-sabotage anytime that we rise in success. So let's get into the different types of self-attack. The first type that I want to talk about are past patterns. So these past patterns are habits from the past that we continue to use in our daily life, worldviews from the past, conditionings that were built in a different environment, a different time, and they no longer serve us. And the last thing is wishing the past was different. So thinking back to memories from the past and wishing we made different decisions or wishing there were different outcomes. The second type of self-attack pattern that we're going to talk about are future fear patterns. So this is when we worry about the future, or we are craving the future so much that we're affecting our life in a negative way. A lot of times people are constantly inundated by stress and worry that they're not going to make it in life, or that they're going to fail somehow, or that people are going to stop loving them, or that they're ultimately just going to do the wrong thing. And it's a self-attack pattern that's based on the future. And this is going to constantly toxify your life. It's going to make your bloodstream full of cortisol. You're going to live a stressful life. Your adrenaline's going to be boosting. You're not going to be able to settle into a nice grounded peace. And it's going to be really hard to build on that foundation. The third type of self-attack pattern are present patterns. So this is when we are denying the now. We're saying this now is not enough. It needs to be different. I need this now to look like this idea from the future or this thing from the past. It's not enough. So it's when we're telling the now that it's not enough as it is. It also includes spending our time irresponsibly. We only have a certain amount of time in this human body and on this planet, and it's okay to spend your free time however you want, but make sure you're not just unconsciously going through life wasting your time. You want to be investing your time into the areas that return love to you and return more success and add value to others. All of these self-attack patterns ultimately root back to you thinking the now is not enough. Whether you're escaping into worries about the future or cravings about the future, regrets about the past, desire to recreate the past, whatever it is, it's a denial of the now. And I really want you to get that cemented into your memory, is how often the human mind wants to escape the now. It's almost like the now is this terrible thing that we never want to engage with. But the now is actually where all of life stems from. It's where the light of consciousness is emitted. It's where all manifestation happens. It's where all human connection happens. I want you to acknowledge that you're here and you're now. I know it's so basic, but just acknowledging that you are here, you're existing, and you're conscious in this now moment. And if you can, be a little bit appreciative of how you feel. Be a little bit appreciative of the fact that you exist. So let's talk about the cycle that goes from comfort to unconsciousness to self-attack and back to comfort. So this is something that so many people go through on a daily basis, and they forget how much it's affecting them negatively. It starts out with seeking comfort. So as you seek comfort, you start to lull yourself into a gentle unconsciousness. And in this unconsciousness, you slowly leak your life force energy until you don't have enough life force energy to make good decisions and to connect with your higher self and to be grounded in the present moment. And that's when the self-attack starts to creep in. So some people say that self-attack comes from dark entities. Some people say it's just human nature and we're evolving past it. Other people say it happens when you're lacking in life force energy and you just act out of a lower place of energy. Whatever it is, it starts to happen. The more unconscious you get, we start to self-attack more. And so after the self-attack, we usually are in a position in our life that we're not comfortable in, so we go right back to finding comfort in things that are bringing us into unconsciousness, right? So it's this infinite loop that goes from finding more comfort, falling asleep, and then sabotaging something. Finding comfort because you're sad or upset that you sabotaged something, and then going more unconscious, and then sabotaging something else. So the way out of this cycle is through consciousness. And it's through giving yourself time where you're following things that are good for you that are not included in the comfort sphere. So maybe going for a hard workout, maybe changing up your diet a little bit, doing something that's going to make you feel that discomfort where you know that you're a little bit out of your comfort zone, right? You don't need to change every single thing in your life that's bringing a little too much comfort and unconsciousness, but just start chipping away at it, You want to chip away at those areas of our life where we're leaking energy. Okay, so the big thing we need to talk about is how to actually stop self-attack. The number one thing to stop self-attack is to realize that it's not you, really. It's not you that's attacking yourself. These are just old patterns from your past that may have served you in some way, but they no longer serve you. And now they're actually causing harm in your life. So the first step is to let go of identification with the pattern. If you notice that you are eating too many sweets, let's say, you can't think of it like, oh, I am so bad with this, I just keep eating sweets. You want to have some separation there and realize I am stuck in an unconscious pattern where I end up eating too many sweets sometimes, right? And create that separation. It's a pattern that's running that's causing this to happen. It's not you as a human being that's causing this. What I want to suggest to you is that you try out parts work. So parts work is basically having a loving and validating conversation with different parts of who you are. And you don't need to think about it like you're actually talking to a separate person. It's just an exercise. It's an activity. I like to talk to my inner child. So I'll ask within, hey, inner child, how am I feeling about this situation that just came up? And then I'll sit and listen. And I'll sometimes hear a voice that still feels like me. It's not like a separate voice talking to me. I'm still animating the voice usually. But I like to have a little imaginary conversation between these different parts of myself. And during those conversations, I end up getting a lot more clarity on who I am as a person, why I do the things I do, why I have certain habits, why did these habits help me at a certain part of my past, and how can I let go of them now? So as you're doing any parts work, I want you to hold space for the emotions that come up. These exercises are not intended to make you instantly feel good. A lot of the times these exercises will feel uncomfortable, but if you spend time holding space for yourself and giving yourself love during those exercises, then you'll have a lot better of a time. Mindfulness is so key as well. If you're staying mindful through your whole day and you're noticing your thought patterns and you're turning your awareness back to your breath when you notice you're having too fast of thoughts or too low vibration of thoughts, then you'll end up going on a big upward spiral in your life. Because it's not just about what we do when we're meditating or what we do when we're journaling. It also matters how we're living our life on a moment-to-moment basis. Mindfulness is such a game changer. And when you start being mindful of your thoughts and your energy throughout your day, that's when you'll notice a really big upward spiral in your life. If you want to learn a little bit more about this, just reach out to me through my email or through my Instagram or in YouTube comments, and I'll get you some more help or I'll point you towards some resources that I have for you. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.